Look at this.
Because of her. Because she sacrificed herself. Because she refused to step aside. Because her love was more powerful than Voldemort.
Don't say his name.
I'm not afraid of the name, Professor. I'm going to tell you.
If you are like me, you may love Harry Potter. It is one of the most beloved and popular franchises of all time. In the series, his main antagonist, Lord Voldemort, must not be named. Citizens are visibly uncomfortable when mentioning his name, casting shadows on whether they actually believe him truly dead. You would expect a university to be a place of open self-critique and discussion. Yet, somehow there is a gloomy, dark figure that still makes everyone uncomfortable and that people are reluctant to speak about: power abuse. For example, a few months ago I shared 2 posts in the Reddit group Ask Academia. One questioned whether academic misconduct and the decline of breakthrough innovation are correlated. The other asked if academia should provide a redress when the work of talented researchers is undermined by power abuse. Both posts were structured in the exact same way, starting with a relevant question and introducing a video. The one about power abuse was eventually removed. I asked for clarification, but the moderators never responded. Is power abuse the Voldemort of academia? Today we are going to pull back the curtain on this dark figure and see how it works. One of the main objectives of this YouTube series is to break the taboo surrounding power abusing research. If you were to ask a professor, one might argue that the phenomenon of power abuse is so rooted in academia it would be impossible not to recognize it. As I mentioned in my previous video, a study titled Analysis of Whistleblowing in Academia highlighted that power abuse is the most cited issue in research. Yet, on a day-to-day basis, this topic keeps making people uncomfortable. For example, in this video, I summarized my whistleblowing experience related to allegations of academic misconduct. I also noted that the investigative process itself had drawn attention from an international ombuds organization specializing in research integrity. However, the organization later declined a follow-up request for support and asked for their identity not to be disclosed, citing their vulnerability as a small NGO. This is one of the main characteristics of power abuse. It makes people uncomfortable openly challenging or speaking about it, favoring an environment for it to flourish and become stronger. Now, the silence around the topic of power abuse and bullying is long known, with many articles mentioning the need to break the silence surrounding it. Fortunately, we are also starting to see first instances of this pickup. For example, in March 2025, Deutsche Welle released the first documentary on a case of power abuse at the Max Planck Society, highlighting the presence of institutional silence when organizations were called to investigate abusive behaviors from staff in senior positions. This silence eventually leads to the second most powerful tool of power abuse. It makes you feel isolated. Look at this.
I've got Dad. We both believe you, by the way. That he who must not be named is back, and you fought him, and the Ministry and the Prophet are conspiring against you and Dumbledore.
Thanks. Seems you're about the only ones that do.
I don't think that's true. But I suppose that's how he wants you to feel.
What do you mean?
Well, if I were you-know-who, I'd want you to feel cut off from everyone else. Because if it's just you alone, you're not as much of a threat.
That simple line perfectly captures one of the most effective tactics of power abuse, making you feel unsupported and hopeless. to discourage any action that may become a threat. Because what can you do if you're alone? On the one hand, therefore, we have silence. On the other, we can trace attempts at normalizing power abuse. In the article Contesting Academic Cultures of Power Abuse, Julia Baumann reported a case in which a professor repeatedly locked some female employees in his office between 2014 and 2016 and beat them with a bamboo stick as a kind of punishment ritual. Did the other faculty not know about this? I mean, this is a professional public space. Did the university intervene? He was later convicted by the Göttingen Regional Court for dangerous bodily harm in office, coercion, and deprivation of liberty. Baumann highlights that despite the judgment of the court, a report's headline framed this episode with the question, did he abuse his power? As to invoke doubt about the limits of abuse. In her research, Baumann reports that, without exception, all interviewees stated they were worried about the consequences, such as losing their jobs. None of the interviewees said they felt safe reporting the situation to their institutions. This is how power abuse thrives. It isolates victims, leaving them feeling hopeless. You might expect these acts of abuse to come from single individuals. But it is when these behaviors are indirectly permitted or even justified by public organizations through bias or institutional silence, as highlighted by the Deutsche Welle documentary, that it becomes truly worrisome. While this can leave victims feeling overwhelmed, it is precisely in these moments that it is important to call power abuse out without fear. For the university that is characterized by international mobility, ensuring fair investigation processes should be a moral imperative. As Tom Devine from the Government Accountability Project suggests, when these things don't happen, a whistleblower should be met not with silence, but with campaigns of truth.
Who are these whistleblowers? They're people who use freedom of speech to challenge abuses of power that betray the public trust. And when that happens, then you need solidarity from the public. And where I work, we play information matchmaker with that evidence. It's not just legal cases. We do those, but they're legal campaigns for the truth, where we unite the isolated whistleblower with everyone who should be benefiting from that dissent. We get the word out to the media, to the politicians, to the law enforcement people. And when that happens, instead of a corrupt bureaucracy surrounding the isolated whistleblower, it's society surrounding that corrupt bureaucracy.
As Zacharias Roupas has highlighted, although measures to combat power abuse in academia have been suggested, they may not be sufficient. Organizations should not exploit the challenges of securing tenure to remain inactive, leaving the entire burden on individuals to ensure a safe environment. To counter power abuse, we must work together, not shy away. People in academia should start taking care of their workplace. A university that truly prioritizes safety and ethics would be loved and respected more than one known for big names. Radical reform is needed to combat power abuse, and it is vital to demand accountability from these institutions despite the challenges. Thank you very much for listening, and let me know in the comments if you have experienced something of this kind. In the next videos, I will go through the following themes: why I started investigating power abusing research in the European Union, the current status of sustainability and why we are reaching only 17% of planned SDGs by 2030, Harry Potter and the loneliness of whistleblowing. So please remember to subscribe if you want to stay updated, and thank you very much, and see you in the next video.